Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday English Desk. We're here to help you learn English through everyday conversations. I'm Janet.
And I'm Ben. Today we're talking about something that honestly most of us have to deal with pretty regularly, going to the bank.
Oh my gosh, yes. And can I just say, going to the bank used to be so intimidating for me.
Really? What made it intimidating?
Well, like all the different terms. I remember the first time someone asked me if I wanted to open a checking account or a savings account, and I was like, what's the difference? I just want somewhere to put my money.
Right, exactly. And that's totally normal. The banking system can feel overwhelming when you're learning English because there's so much specific vocabulary. But here's the thing. Once you know the basics, it becomes so much easier. So let's start with your story, Janet. What was your first bank experience like?
Oh boy. Okay, so I had just graduated high school and got a job and needed somewhere to have my checks deposited. So I walk into this huge bank, right? And there's like this fancy lobby with marble floors and everything. And I'm standing there with my little folder of documents, and I have no idea where to go. Like, do I wait in line for the teller? Do I talk to someone at the customer service desk? I was so confused.
That's such a common experience. What did you end up doing?
Well, I just stood there looking lost for like 5 minutes until this really nice bank employee came up to me and asked if I needed help. Thank goodness for kind people, you know?
Absolutely. And that's actually a great tip for our listeners. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Bank employees are usually very helpful, especially when you're opening your first account.
Yes, they really are. But Ben, what about you? I bet your first banking experience was way more smooth than mine.
Well, not really. I actually had the opposite problem. I was 18 years old and in a brand new city halfway across the country that I moved to by myself to attend college. I went to one of the big national banks, and I overprepared so much beforehand that I confused myself.
Oh my gosh, this sounds so much like a problem a young Ben would have.
Yeah, well, you know me. I spent hours researching different types of accounts, interest rates, fees, minimum balances. I walked in with a whole notebook of questions. But then the bank representative started explaining everything, and I realized I'd been overthinking it. For most people, you really just need to understand the few basic account types.
Okay, so let's break that down for our listeners. What are those basic account types?
Great question. So, the two main ones you'll hear about are checking accounts and savings accounts. A checking account is basically for your day to day money, the money you use to pay bills, buy groceries, stuff like that.
Right, like your spending money.
Exactly. And with a checking account, you usually get a debit card and you can write checks. Though, honestly, not many people write checks anymore.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've written a check in like years. But my grandma still sends me a check and a birthday card every year. It's so cute.
That's sweet. But yeah, mostly people use their debit cards or do online banking now. And then savings accounts are different, therefore, money you want to save for the future.
And they usually pay you a little bit of interest, right?
Right, though these days the interest rates are pretty low. But the idea is that your money grows slowly over time. And it's separate from your spending money, so you're not tempted to use it.
That's so smart. I'm terrible at not spending money if it's in my checking account. Like if I see it's there, I'm like, ooh, I can afford this cute top.
See, you get it. That's exactly why people keep their savings separate. Now, let's talk about some other important banking terms you might hear. So, when you go to the bank, you might need to make a deposit. That's when you put money into your account. Or you might need to make a withdrawal, which is taking money out. You can usually do both of these at an ATM, that's an automated teller machine. Or you can go to a human teller inside the bank.
Oh, and let me add something here because I learned this the hard way. When you use an ATM that's not from your bank, they might charge you a fee.
Oh no, yeah, that's a good point. ATM fees can really add up if you're not careful.
I was so mad the first time that happened. I needed like $20 and ended up paying a $3 fee. That's like 15%.
Ouch. That's actually a great example of why it's important to ask about fees when you open an account. Some banks reimburse ATM fees or they have networks where you won't get charged.
Actually, speaking of fees, can we talk about online banking for a minute? Because that was another thing that totally confused me at first.
Oh, yes, online banking is huge now, especially since the pandemic. What was confusing about it for you?
Well, they gave me this username and password and said I could manage my account online, but I had no idea what that actually meant. What can you do online versus what do you need to go to the bank for?
That's such a great question because you can actually do almost everything online now. You can check your account balance, see your transaction history, pay bills, transfer money between accounts, even deposit checks by taking a photo of them.
I remember the first time someone told me about that, I was like, wait, what? You can deposit checks with your phone? That's like magic. How does the bank know it's real?
Right? It does seem like magic, but banks have really good fraud detection systems now. Plus, when you use mobile deposit, you usually have to endorse the check. That means sign the back of it and write for mobile deposit only under your signature.
Oh, that's smart. And it's so convenient. I used to have to go to the bank every time I got paid. But now I just snap a photo and boom, done. But then, what about staying safe when you're doing online banking? Because that kind of scares me sometimes.
That's a really important concern. The main thing is to never do your banking on public Wi Fi. Always use your own internet connection or your phone's data. And never click links in emails that claim to be from your bank. Those are usually scams.
Yes, I learned that the hard way. I got one of those fake emails once and almost clicked on it. It looked so real. Now I always go directly to my bank's website instead of clicking email links.
That's exactly the right approach. And speaking of learning things the hard way, let's talk about some other banking services that can be confusing for English learners, like credit cards versus debit cards. Do you remember being confused about that?
Oh my gosh, yes. For the longest time, I didn't understand the difference. I thought they were basically the same thing. Someone would say, "Do you want to pay with credit or debit?" And I'd be like, "What's the difference again?"
It can be confusing. So basically, when you use a debit card, the money comes directly out of your checking account right away. But with a credit card, you're borrowing money from the credit card company, and you have to pay it back later.
Right. And if you don't pay it back on time, they charge you interest, which can get expensive fast. That was definitely a lesson early 20s Janet had to learn. What about, what about when you need to transfer money between accounts, like from savings to checking?
Great question. That's called a transfer. You can usually do transfers online through your bank's website or app, or you can ask a teller to help you at the bank.
The apps are so convenient now. I do everything on my phone. But wait, what if people want to send money to someone else, like to a friend or family member?
That's where it gets interesting. There are a few options. You can do a wire transfer through your bank, but those usually cost money. Or you can use apps like Venmo or Zelle.
Yes, Venmo is like my life. Hey, can you Venmo me for dinner? It's become a verb.
That's true. It's funny how these app names become verbs, but that actually brings up something interesting for our English learners. Banking has a lot of these alternative terms.
Ooh, what do you mean?
Well, like people might say cash machine instead of ATM, especially if they're British. Or they might call a checking account a current account.
Oh, right. And some people say bank teller. Others just say teller, and sometimes people say bank clerk, right?
Exactly. And instead of saying make a withdrawal, you might hear take out money or get cash. It all means the same thing.
That's so helpful to know. I remember being confused when someone told me to cash a check. I thought they meant get cash, but they meant deposit it.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Hashing a check usually means you get the money from the check right away instead of putting it in your account. But you can also deposit a check, which means the money goes into your account.
See, this is why I love our channel. These little details make such a big difference when you're trying to understand everyday English.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you're ever unsure about what someone means, just ask. Most people are happy to clarify, especially in a customer service situation like at a bank.
Yes, don't be embarrassed. Even native English speakers ask for clarification in bank settings.
That's true, Janet. I think that's a good place to wrap up this conversation. We hope this helps make your next bank visit a little less intimidating.
But before we go, we'd love to hear from you. Have you had any funny or confusing banking experiences? Leave us a comment and tell us your story. And if this episode helped you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support really helps a lot to create more content to help you improve your English. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time on Everyday English Desk.